Today we're going to show you how you can get the absolute best gas mileage with your Honda Element. These tips will work for any car, not just the Honda Element, but we're going to focus on the Honda Element in particular. So first things first, I know all of you Honda Element lovers love your off-road tires, but skip the off-road tires and get yourself some normal tires. So you can see on mine, I have Yokohama Geolanders, which are an all-terrain tire. Those tires are simply going to add more friction on the road. So if you're not doing any off-roading, you're not hitting those dirt trails, just stick to some standard tires, and that way you can save at the fuel pump. Now, if you look here, I have Steelies. Now, Steely is this style of wheel. It's a totally steel wheel, which is very strong if you're doing any off-road action. However, they are a bit heavier. So if you can find yourself in a set of OEM alloy wheels, those alloy wheels are still very strong, but the most important thing is that they're much lighter. Now, you don't need to rush out and buy some brand new alloy wheels. You can actually find sets of OEM wheels, the wheels that came in the EX models of the Honda Element, for fairly inexpensive. I've seen them for about $100 or so with tires, so you can get yourself a nice set of alloy wheels for very, very cheap. When you have a lighter wheel, it's easier for the engine to push the car forward, so that way you're gonna save a ton of money at the fuel pump by adding some alloy wheels. Now, the next tip here is to lose everything on top. So anything you add on top of the vehicle, whether that's a cargo box, an awning, a roof rack, all of that is gonna add drag when you're driving down the highway, and it's gonna cut into your gas mileage. So if you have somewhere where you can store your cargo box, like a garage, just go ahead and put it in the garage and only put it on when you're taking those road trips. I've noticed when I have my roof box on, it takes about 1 mile per gallon off of my mileage. So over time, that can make a huge, huge difference. Now, every Honda Element has an easy way to save a ton of weight, which is going to translate to better fuel economy. The way you do this is you take the rear seats out, and there's 2 of them that usually hang right here. But what you can do is you can remove those seats, place them into your garage, and that's going to save you almost 100 pounds right off the bat, and also removing any unnecessary items from the back of your vehicle. So big storage containers, extra gear that you're not using currently, take it out of the vehicle and you'll definitely see an improvement on your gas mileage. So the next portion of this video, we're going to talk about your engine. Keeping your engine tuned up and running right is going to save you probably the most out of all of these tips and tricks that we're talking about in today's video. So the first thing that we want to look at is your spark plugs. So your spark plugs are located underneath these 4 bolts here, and there's 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically, these need to be changed out every 100,000 miles or so. If it's been longer than 100,000 miles, I highly recommend that you get in there and you change your spark plugs. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and create a video and link it up here so you guys can learn how to change the spark plugs in your Honda Element. In addition to that, Honda Element also has coil packs. So again, if it's been more than 100,000 miles, I would recommend changing your spark plugs and your coil packs, and that's going to help your engine create better spark, which is going to help it run more fuel efficient. Now, if we move over to this side of the engine, this is your air filter. If your air filter is extremely clogged, it's going to be hard for your engine to take in air. So you can remove these 4 bolts right here and take a look at your air filter and see if it needs to be changed. You know if it needs to be changed if it's really dirty, really black. And those are very inexpensive and easy to fix. And you know what? I'll go ahead and make another video for you guys at the top right corner of this video. Another thing you want to take a look at here is your actual throttle body. This is a little bit more difficult to access, so I definitely recommend giving it a try. But if you're not comfortable with that, take it to a mechanic and get your throttle body cleaned out, and that's going to help your car run much more fuel efficient. So as far as maintenance is concerned, that's where I would start. Also, I would check to make sure you don't have any check engine lights, because if your engine isn't running tip-top, you're definitely going to see a decrease in your fuel mileage. If you're a little more advanced, I would definitely take a look at your oxygen sensors. So your oxygen sensors are another thing that are responsible for fuel mileage. And if you know those are original, maybe 100,000 miles or older, definitely look into getting those replaced, and you should definitely see a little bit of a bump in your fuel mileage. So now that we've removed all the unnecessary things, we saved weight, your engine is running tip-top, we need to talk about your driving habits. And this can have a huge effect on how much mileage you get in your Honda Element. So here we are at a stoplight, and then sometimes some of us have a heavy foot. So when we go and get ready to take off, we slam the pedal down and it accelerates us forward. But when you slam the pedal down, it's essentially dumping a bunch of fuel into the system. When you do that, it's going to consume a lot of gas. So especially at starting off, taking off, you really want to be very light on the pedal. Slowly give it gas so then it slowly accelerates, because you don't really need that much gas to take off, unless of course it's an emergency situation where there's maybe somebody coming behind you and you have to accelerate very quick to get away. Then, you know, of course, do that. And if you have a stick shift like I do, you can try to keep it under a certain RPM. So I try to keep it, if I'm saving gas, at around 3,000 RPM when I shift. Now, same thing here, when you're merging onto the highway, if you know, drop it down and floor it, it's definitely going to consume a lot more gas than if you were just to, you know, calmly enter the freeway. So now let's talk a little bit about highway speeds. So here is another spot where you're really going to notice the increase or decrease in your gas mileage. So typically when I drive, if I'm not in a rush, I'm just going to keep it at 65. I'm not going to go much faster than that, and I'll stay in the far right lane. But when you're driving down the highway faster than that, let's say it's 75 or even 85, there's a lot of wind resistance coming at you, and it makes your engine work a little bit harder, which in turn is going to consume more gas. So now let's talk a little bit about your air conditioning. So when you're at highway speeds, having the air conditioning on versus having the windows rolled down, it's probably better to have the air conditioning on, because when the windows are down, it creates a lot of wind resistance coming at you, and that forces your engine to work harder to push you forward. Now, if you're under like 30 miles per hour, maybe even 40 miles per hour, you might see a slight, very slight increase in your gas mileage by having the windows rolled down. But I honestly think that it's probably just better to run the AC on all the time if you're in the hot area and you need it, because the gas savings is going to be negligible compared to the windows rolled down or the air conditioning on. So go ahead and run your air conditioning, in my opinion. Out of all of the things that we've talked about throughout this video, I think your driving habits will probably have the most significant increase or decrease in your gas mileage. And this right here is the biggest, best secret. Get yourself a Costco membership. The gas is usually like 60 cents cheaper. That's a great way to save at the fuel pump, is just get your gas cheaper.